Hi, I'm the Girly Organist. My role is as an organist, play the pipe organ, and I compose music. I've composed some organ sonatas, a chamber opera, and several choral works too. What was my route to becoming an organist? Well, it was kind of non-traditional. I am a classically trained pianist. I went to Cheetham School of Music in Manchester and then the Royal Northern College of Music, all studying piano. I then got to a certain point and thought, this is fantastic, but they're churning out way too many pianists. I'm going to go study music production. And President Rebecca really thanks past Rebecca for that choice, because it stood me in great stead. Never be worried about taking a risk and doing something kind of unexpected, because it can really work out well. I then went into academia, which means that I work as an organist and I do research and work in a university, which is really fun. And I did a thing called a PhD in sonic installation art, art galleries, a little bit of theology and music composition. So covered loads of areas in that. I got into playing the organ by getting a contract with Co-op Funeral Care when I was in university. It sounds kind of a bit strange, but people have music at funerals if you've ever been to a funeral. And I got hired as the person to play that music. And then I kind of got the bug gradually over a few years and eventually became an organist. What are some of the barriers that I face as a woman in music? So I'm a woman in classical music, but then a specific area of classical music, church music, and within church music, I'm an organist. And church music and the organ world in particular in the UK are pretty male heavy. Globally, it's pretty balanced, but in the UK, it's very male dominated. And there's two ways you can go. You can go the direction that I went, wear frilly dresses, super cute, flowers in your hair, and just do it anyway. Or you can kind of try and enter your masculine energy and do what your male counterparts do in the same way that they do it. I went the super girly way, and I'm quite a feminine person, and you can be feminine regardless of your gender. And I really just lean into it because I found that being a woman in church music is always going to be challenging. That's probably never going to go away. And so there are, not in my lifetime anyway, so I thought you can either, be crushed by the system or just do what you want to do. And personally, I have found it quite freeing to just be myself, and people just get used to the fact that I wear frilly dresses and flowers in my hair most of the time, and they don't really have a problem with it. But it's also very hard for people to be cross when someone has flowers in their hair and a frilly dress on. So I would just say, be yourself and lean into being yourself. Too often we do try and change our personality to fit in, but I've just figured in church music I'm never going to fit in because I'm a girly girl in church music. So fitting in a typical sense is just never going to be an option, so I'm just going to do it my own way, and that's worked out pretty well so far. The last question was around what do I love? I love playing the pipe organ. I love composing with the pipe organ. I love the sound of the pipe organ. I like the textures and the layers. I like the technical skill of playing. I just really like playing the pipe organ. That's my favourite part of the job, is just getting to play. And what would I give as advice to young women in particular coming forward? I thought about this quite a lot, and the advice that I will give you is fill in the application form. Submit your name for you know, possible roles, because actually you don't know what they're looking for. And you know, I speak to lots of women in my recitals around the country, and one of the things that they come back and say is, oh, there's no opportunities, you know. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's true. I think there's lots of opportunities. There's lots of opportunities that you can make for yourself, if you're willing to put in a bit of time and effort. But then actually there's lots of women that are really capable and they don't apply. So I think, you know, one thing that I have learned from my male colleagues is that they push themselves forward even if they don't feel like they're ready, and then they get the job, and then, you know, they're in this position. And so I've kind of taken a little bit of a leaf out of their book, and I just put myself forward, and you will always be surprised at what comes back, because the truth is you have to be in it to win it. I'm not recommending anyone gamble, but it is true. So if you don't put the application in, if you don't put your name forward, you're not going to get anything. And I suppose with that comes a lot of rejection, for sure. But that is part of being in the arts. And if you can't take the rejection, then don't go into the arts. And actually, you know, if you have like a serious word with yourself and your ego, you can deal with the rejection, and it's just part of everyday life.